Welcome to another edition of Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and you're watching Diaspora Network Television DNT. I have with me two of Ghana's pride in the United States. From Texas, we're joined by Dr. Samuel Forjor, specifically from Houston, Texas. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Jamil, for inviting me.
Very good. And then from Georgia, we have Dr. Collins Quatin, cardiothoracic surgeon. Is that correct?
No, correction. Interventional cardiologist.
Interventional cardiologist. Okay, very good. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
My first question for you, Doc. Well, I guess both of you are doctors. So instead of going with the full name, Doctor, I'll just go with Collins for you and Sam for you. Is that okay?
That's fine. Acceptable. Yes.
Very good. Why would anyone move to Georgia and go live in a village when there is ATL, a big old ATL?
Well, for me, I've always been interested in serving the underserved. As a matter of fact, I got into fellowships and residencies because of my intent to serve the underserved. So after fellowship, I didn't get what I actually was looking for. So I settled for a job in Las Vegas, Nevada. But when the opportunity availed itself in Southeast Georgia, I went. And the reason I did, for an interventional cardiologist, you live for volume. Okay. The more interventions you do, the more you hone your skills. And in Southeast Georgia, the lifestyle makes the population highly prone to cardiovascular disease. If you also know a little bit about American history, that is where the tobacco plantations and stuff originally were. So people start smoking at a very, very early age. Grandfathers start smoking. They start cigarettes.
When you go to rural America, it's crazy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let me start with the first thing we're going to do is get to know you guys. So let me start with you, Sam. You are in Houston, Texas. How did you, let's talk about you here in Ghana. Where are you from? And how did you grow up in Ghana? What school did you go to? By the way, as long as either of you did not attend Prempeh or OWAS, we're fine. Okay.
Then you expired.
Okay.
Now, I mean, what do you have against Akatachi and Amanfo?
I know, right?
Well, my name is Samuel Forjor, and I come from Kronom, which is about 5 miles from Kumasi. Actually, I was born in Swami, and it will surprise you that the same midwife who attended to my birth also attended to my wife. I got to know this just before our wedding. And when I was born, my mom used to live in Ashtown, specifically Achiansi House, ME 101. And I was just a bit of myself. I'm one of 40 siblings of my family. And I was just lucky.
How many siblings?
40. Yeah.
40.
40, yeah.
Your dad is a busy man.
And my mom had 10.
Okay.
And so they enrolled me at Bremine Roman Catholic School. And so I had to trek from Ashtown to Bremine every day until when I reached class 6, my father picked me up and took me to Tema, where I had my last 2 years in public school, from 1, from 2, and I sat for the common entrance in Tema, and then ended up at the school you don't want, the only school in Ghana that you all know, OWAS. And so I entered OWAS in 1969.
You went to OWAS?
Yes, I went to
I think
OWAS.
I'm going to ask I'm gonna ask the engineers to cut you off.
Yeah, I was at
But go ahead.
UAS
Go ahead.
from
Uh-huh.
1969 through 1976. I did my O level and my A level
Did you
there.
say was or was Opokuare or West Africa?
Opokuwari School, the only
Oh,
school in
okay.
Ghana. Yeah. And so I was at
Okay.
UAS till 1976 when I went to medical school at the KNUS School of Medical Science.
Okay.
Yeah. And from there, I graduated in
Okay.
1983, worked in Ghana for 6 years, including postings to rural areas, just like Collins was saying. I have a passion for underserved population. So my first posting was to Akrokere Health Center. I stayed there for 18 months. Then I was transferred to Mampong District Hospital. I stayed there for almost 2 years, and then I went to Ofinso St. Patrick's Hospital because I'm Catholic. So at some point, I decided to get a secondment to um, Ofinso St. Patrick's Hospital. From Ofinso, I was transferred to Jaso, but I really didn't start work at Jaso, and I got a WHO scholarship to go to Harvard. And I
Okay.
did a 1 year at Harvard University. When I finished, I was bent on coming to Ghana, but there were some issues. And in the
Okay.
interim, I was able to get another scholarship to go to Johns Hopkins to do a
Very
PhD
good.
in epidemiology. Yeah.
Very
And
good.
so I
So
worked.
wait, did you say PhD in
Epidemiology.
okay. So
Epidemiology. Yeah.
you are with the Dr. Fauci dams, right?
Yeah, well, I had a PhD. Actually, I did a doctor of public health, but people are not used to DRPH. So when I am in such forums, I tell them it's a PhD,
Okay.
PhD, but it's a PhD focused in public health.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
very good.
Uh,
Now, thanks for that. I mean, you've given us a journey from where you were born to where you are. That's a lot of people watching will find a lot of value in it because these days people think, oh, the world is stuck up against me, and I can look. But look at you, where you started and where you are. That's commendable. I hope, Collins, you can match that. What's your story?
Oh wow. The similarities are outstanding. Um, my name is Dr. Collins Cortain, interventional cardiologist in private practice here in Southeast Georgia, Dublin to be precise. I was born in Ghana as well, to a dad who had 15 children. So I was one of 15. My
Wow.
mother had three, yes, out of the 15, and I was the eldest. So I was born actually in Brunhafu region, Goso,
oh,
actually. And so, yeah, that's where I grew up. Yeah, parents got divorced when I was about 7. So, lived with my stepmom through. So I attended primary school. As a matter of fact, at the age of 5, when my parents were still married, I was sent to a school, a boarding school in Sinuane called Rapid Preparatory School. So I was at Rapid. That would have been 1976. I was very young then. I have very little recollection, just flashes of the memories at that prep school. Everybody thought my mom was the most wicked woman in the world to send a 5-year-old to boarding school at that time. But those building blocks became part of my foundation. When my parents got divorced around the age of 7, 8, um, I was the first of 3, and living with my stepmother, I became like the leader of my pack. There were
Okay.
4 or 5 women, making up the 15 children for my dad. So being the eldest of my mother's 3, I found myself, even at a very young age, uh, having to sort of protect my younger sister and brother. I,
Okay.
because my dad had many children, all of us, and my dad was just an uneducated bus driver. He had his own transportation system, But one thing I
Okay.
will give him credit, he's still
So
alive, is that
which secondary
he,
school did you end up with?
yeah. So, so I went to Presbyterian Primary School in Goso. Then I went to Methodist Middle. When I was in Form 2, the head teacher came home one evening and told my dad that he thought I was bright enough to sit for the common entrance examination. At that time, I was born in 1971. So 1983, 84, I sat for the common entrance examination. So from middle school to TIMAS, from 1 to Form 5, upper 6, upper and lower and upper actually, at West Africa Secondary School. By that time, it was in Adenta. And so from then my national service back in Brahafro in Kwapon area, and then started University of Ghana. Actually, I was actually a science, I was an arts student back in Ghana, because then I did not have, despite my grades, I didn't have the big man or the money to lead me to get a good course. So in Legon, I was given philosophy, Greek history, Greek literature, and geography. Yes. Yeah. And so,
how did you
but I
transition
always
from
had
that
aspirations.
wait, how did you transition from those to medicine?
Well, I always, there is, when I tell this story, people are like, no, it can't be true. So, during my national service, I went to Kwapon. If anybody knows about Kwapon in Brahafo region, there's always been a chieftaincy dispute in Kwapon. One half of the town do not talk to the other half of the town. People have been killed due to chieftaincy disputes, and that is the town I was sent for my national service. So when we went for the national service, the whole chief's palace was empty. So the national servicemen, there were 4 of us, we lived in the king's palace.
Oh.
Okay, so that is how sort of my appetite and my zest for medicine started. One afternoon, Friday afternoon, we were playing soccer on the local primary school field. It's a small town. You can literally count the number of houses in the village. And we saw like people running towards one specific area. And so curiosity kills the cat. So we all followed. And, we went there and we saw a young man, a young kid, had collapsed. I don't know what had happened, and so like people, dabbing his forehead with, cold water and all of that. Now, I was a science teacher because O-level, I read science. And so of the 4 national servicemen in the village, I was quote unquote the science teacher. So instinctively, everybody turns to me like I'm supposed to have the answer. Now, I had watched movies, like VHS movies, where I had seen what appeared to be resuscitation, what I've come to know as resuscitation. People will pass out and people will be compressing their chest. I had no clue at that time what that meant. But as I sort of made my way to the middle of the gathering of people where the young man apparently had passed out, instinctively, I just sort of took over. And I knew, because we were sort of young men catering for ourselves, we cooked our own food, and I knew that onions were very irritable to the eyes and the nostrils. I don't know what got into me. I asked for onions. I smashed it and I sort of rubbed it under his eyes. In other words, what I was trying to do was trying to irritate the kid for him to feel something. And without any rhyme or rhythm, I started pressing on his chest. I did not know at that time that was called CPR. I had no medical knowledge. But lo and behold, a few minutes into that experience, the kid started moving and I was not even paying attention. And when that happened, you know how Ghanaians are afraid of what they think is the dead person? So as the kid, they thought the kid was dead because he was lifeless. But as the kid sort of started coming back to his senses, people sort of moved away. And it was such a life-changing experience as a young man. Needless to say, the kid came back to life. He happened to be the only kid of the woman. And so from that very day until all of us left the village, we never cooked for ourselves again. We never even washed our clothing.
Wow.
Because and then on the day that our national service we finished our tenure and leaving the village, the woman at the car station, because in Kwapon the cars come and go very rarely. So we arranged with the taxi driver to sort of pick us up, take us back to Goso, where my parents were. So the woman, so her parting words were that I had been a blessing to her, and so I should never cease to be a blessing unto others. That interaction was like a living fire up in my belly, which was never quenched. And so remember that when you leave national service, that is where you transition to college. But here I was with what sounded like a prophecy
But by
on
the
my
way,
life.
you say you had already finished Legon, right?
Yeah, so I had finished my sixth form.
Okay.
So after sixth form, that is when you do national service, and then you go to that gap year is where you do the national service, and then you go to college. And so I had this interaction, but then I was coming to Legon, and I was going
And
to
you came
read
to do
geography and
arts.
philosophy. Exactly. And so for
So
me,
that
it
didn't
was
make
an
sense.
impossible task,
Yeah.
you know.
So let me
And I didn't.
let me switch a little bit to how you got to the state, because I want to get all of you up to. We've already seen how Sam got to the state. How did you get to the States?
Um, my life, I've been asked to write a book. So I come to Legon, and I'm very politically active, and I joined an association called ISEC. ISEC is Association of International Students interested in management and economics. And in my first year, I was voted the president of ISEC Legon. Okay, so this was 91, 92, thereabout. And one thing that you know about ISEC is that it gives you the opportunity to travel outside the country. So as the president, I went to a couple of conferences. So if you recall, back in 1995, actually 94 going into 95, the lecturers of all Ghana's universities that was under former President Jerry Rawlings went on strike because of pay inequities and stuff like that. And the student body also went on a looter to support. So as part of an ISEC president, I went to a UN conference in Copenhagen, Denmark, the UN Social Conference, March 95. So I happened to run into the late Rawlings and his entourage, and he held a conference at the Ghana ambassador's office or residence on the last day of the conference. And, as a political activist that I was, I am standing in the back and I'm waving my hand, and he called me and I asked questions. And he asked me what my issue was, and I just simply asked him that I have heard him as an orator encouraging tomorrow's leaders to stay in school, but yet I cannot sort of reconcile in my mind why our schools are closed down. And that, I think, took him by surprise, and he spoke for a while. But needless to say that the Aluta ended after that. Now, this was in 1995. The United Nations was formed in 1945, so 1995 will have been the 50th anniversary of the United Nations. And so when I came back, I asked, Ibn Chambers was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I went to Ibn Chambers and I asked him for help to get me to the conference. So he helped me get a visa. But my mother, who had been living here since 92, applied for the green card lottery. So I came here on a student visa and won a green card. So I did adjustment of status, and that is where my medical degree started.
You. So let me get back to Sam. Sam, how has your professional career been in the States? You got to Harvard, you did PhD in public health, and you've practiced in the United States. What has it been like practicing in the United States?
Actually, let me correct you. I never practiced in the United States because when I did PhD, I decided I couldn't do clinical practice and research together. And so I've been a researcher, educator ever since. My
Okay.
first posting was the University of Pittsburgh, where
Okay.
we had a Center for Injury Research and Control, one of 10 CDC centers. But that is
Okay.
how I was able to adjust my status to become a citizen. Because at that
Okay.
time, there were only two of us that had studied injury and accidents to the PhD level. And so
Okay.
that's how the CDC was able to adjust my study. And so I was
Okay.
working at Pittsburgh at the Allegheny General Hospital, and they filed for bankruptcy, and I had to scramble for somewhere. And I saw this
Okay.
advertisement looking for somebody to begin a division of research at the Texas A&M University in College Station. And so I applied and was fortunate to have been selected. That is how I ended up in Texas. And so I
Okay.
came here as a professor of family and community medicine, and then I was also teaching at the School of Rural Public Health, and this is what I've been
So
doing until
you're more on the
tired with
teaching side. You're more on the
teaching and
teaching
research.
side,
Yeah, teaching and
teaching and
research.
research. Okay. All right. So
But then I still maintain my
you're more.
registration in Ghana.
What's
I still
that?
maintain my medical registration in Ghana, and so I can
Okay.
practice in Ghana. Yeah, I've been renewing my license every year, so I can still practice in Ghana as a
Okay.
general practitioner.
We wake up every morning to different stories from politics, business, sports, and entertainment. These stories, one way or the other, affect our lifestyle and dealings with family, friends, and business associates. Your take on Diaspora Network Television gives you an opportunity to have your take on these pertinent issues via phone in and messages to our social media platforms, DNT Ghana on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If it's an important trending story, we will definitely talk about it. Your take with me, Yalsichi, on DNT.
What's cool, fresh and trendy with a new look? Makes you feel real good, that refreshing vibe. Satisfies you right just the way you like. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Ain't gotta do it alone. Specialized makes you flow. Anytime, anywhere. Specialized feel different. Always think specialized. Special Ice Natural Mineral Water. Feel different. Think special. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
But let me get Collins's practice, your professional life. What's practicing? I know you studied in what you call it, Beverly Hills, right? Is that correct? Huh?
The story is much more.
Uh,
So I did my fellowship at Cedar Sinai in Beverly Hills, but
okay.
my medical career actually started in the United States Army.
Okay. Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah. So when I came after I did my adjustment of status, I decided that I was going to officially pursue medicine. So I started
Okay.
City University of New York, the CUNY system in Flushing Meadows. But I didn't have money. I was living with a single mother in Queens, New York. And so I worked selling computers at CES while going to school. And so I saved just about enough money for just one semester. So I went this winter semester of 96 into the spring of 97, and I got thrown out of class for non-payment of tuition. And
Okay.
so I was on the subway going home when I met a U.S. Army recruiter on the subway who told
Yeah.
me about the United States Army and they could pay for my tuition and all of that. So by 2 p.m., I had signed up for the U.S. Army to be a combat medic, and I went to
Okay.
my basic training AIT, and so I did that. And then after that, did college courses and ended up getting my bachelor's of science in biology with honors. Then I did my medical school at the University of
So
Massachusetts.
after Legon, you went and got your bachelor's again back in the States, right?
I did not graduate at Legon. So
In
during the
Legon.
Aluta, yes.
Okay.
So my second year, at Legon during the Aluta, after meeting the president's delegation, and I came in September of '95 for the conference, I ended up winning the green card lottery, so I didn't go back to complete. And
Okay. So is it
that is
fair to
how the
say?
process went.
Is it fair to say that if you had finished your degree in Legon in the arts field, there's a pretty good chance that your career path may have gone a different way?
I have absolutely no doubt my career path will have gone a different way.
Very good. Okay. Wow. So this is a case where Aluta actually helped you, right?
Every misfortune in life is a blessing. You know, when
It's a
people say
blessing.
that, I did not believe that every
Yeah.
misfortune is a blessing, and my life is a
Yes.
testament to that.
Very good. Okay, so now I've got both of you in the States. Sam, you're more on the teaching side and teaching and research side, but a medical doctor, and you're a surgeon. I know because of time, we're trying to move faster forward. You, Collins, you did your internship at Beverly Hills. And you've been all over the place: New York, Beverly Hills, Las Vegas, and now Georgia, right? What's your, in a brief this thing, what's your profession, the practice, and what's it been like?
um, Private practice. So I did after fellowship. So let me give you a brief recap of my medical training. So after military service, did medical school, University of Massachusetts, then residency at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. Then from Atlanta, Georgia, I went to Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills for my cardiology fellowship. From my cardiology fellowship, I went to Miami for my interventional cardiology training. And then from then, I picked my first job at a place in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Las Vegas, then to Georgia.
Okay.
So the first two times, actually, I was employed, and I realized that slavery appears to still exist in the United States. Because after I was employed, I was the only one doing the work, and it just was not tenable. So I decided I was going to leave employment and pick up
Okay.
private practice. And it has been hard, but it is
Okay.
very rewarding.
Okay. In the next half hour, we're going to start to get you guys back home. Sam, you've been back home. You've come and actually constructed a beautiful medical facility. What made you decide to leave it all behind and come back home?
Um, it all started when I was at Baylor Scott and White Health. After some time, I decided I had to give back to Ghana what Ghana has given me. And so I started taking medical students to Ghana on electives. I did that for like 5 years, and also joined the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons. Actually, I'm a fellow, a foundation fellow of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons. And so I was coming to Ghana on voluntary basis every year in September and December to help with the residency training in Ghana. And then I decided I had to invest and assist the government with the healthcare system. And so I was able to just eat into my 401k to start
You know,
building.
do you know the
And
chance you
that's how
take
I
when
started
you do you know the chance you take when you tap into your 401k? Because if it
to,
doesn't work
I,
out,
I,
you're
knew,
screwed.
I knew that, that is what I had to depend on in my old age, but also knew that if I set up something in Ghana, it will enhance my return home. And that was the
Okay.
motivation for me to build a hospital in Ghana. And like Colin said, I decided to do this in an underserved area, and so the hospital is Trinity Healthcare, situated at Trimaboko, which is about 6-7 miles from Kumasi.
Very good. You know, the reason why I paired you both is that you have come and done it. Collins is looking to come and do it. So I figured that there would be some learning opportunity here. So, Collins, why do you want to come back? You're in Georgia. You're a surgeon. You're making beaucoup money. Why leave it to come to Ghana?
The the answer is simple, really. We've all seen, and I don't think the issues are new. It's just that we are finding them more frequently now because of social media. We've all seen the no bed syndrome, and a young man goes to the hospital and they die. And so it's just seeing what we have here and also comparing it to what is at home. And you think about, what can I do to help? I am part of the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Foundation here in North America. Okay, I've never been in any leadership position. However, I've been actively involved over the past 5 to 10 years. And this is me personally, and that is the perspective I've come to see, trying to do something collectively as an organization. The leaders who formed the organization for a long time, have been trying to officially do something. Every time they try, they are sort of unsuccessful. And the obstacles have actually come from,
I'm part of the.
see, he's laughing.
No, I was part of the formation of the Ghana Physicians and Surgeons Foundation in the North America.
Okay. So he knows. I've never met him, but he knows the trouble that the organization has gone through. Even up until about a year ago, physicians who had the DO designation, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, were not even recognized in Ghana, and a whole lot of the physician group, of GPSF are DOs, excellent physicians, very conscientious. They do the same thing that MDs do, but they were not recognized because of some sort of historical perspective issues.
And so for me, the doctor who treated Donald Trump is a DO.
Exactly.
The doctor who treated
Donald Trump. It's a DO.
Yeah.
And the DO stands for what again?
Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine.
And that one is now recognized here in Ghana.
It did not. It used not to be recognized until about just 2 years ago. And so people who had the DO designation didn't have any motivation to join the GPSF. And so to go back to answering your question, we got 30 million people in Ghana, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
Up until recently, we did not have a fully trained interventional cardiologist in the whole entire country. And that only happened less than 5 years ago. Now, if you look at the life expectancy of Ghana post-independence, it was in the mid-40s. Cardiovascular disease is a long inflammatory disease. It's a disease of the old. So the older you are, the more likely you are to have cardiovascular disease. So my yearning to come was predicated on the very critical shortage of people like me with this skill set. And so I figured there is a lot more I can contribute, to solving the problem.
So let's talk about the system here. I used to live in Houston. Whenever I go to the medical center, I look at these giant facilities and I'm like, how can we get this in Ghana? And then you come to Ghana. One time I was in the middle, I've witnessed an accident. I took one of the victims in my car and took him to Tama General Hospital. When I walked in there, I just couldn't believe my eyes. When you guys look at the facilities in which you practice back in the States, and when you come to Ghana, is that discouraging to you? Or does it make you want to do it more?
It is very discouraging. It's extremely discouraging. Now, 63 years after independence, there is absolutely no reason or justification for us to have what we have. Now, things are improving, but on a very, very slow pace. Most of the people who die in Ghana in traumatic accidents die in the first 1 to 2 hours, the golden hour. You know why? Because there is no triage. There is no
There's no
triage.
triage. Okay.
Okay, absolutely. No triage. Okay, because
Okay.
so let me just give you a scenario. You have a very traumatic accident. Somebody is caught in the vehicle. How many times have you seen these episodes or videos where you see people dragging the accident victim from behind the wheel, trying to put them at the back of a taxi or any vehicle available? This person may have a C-spine injury. Okay, now
But
because
now
of
we
my
have
experience,
okay, but now we have the ambulances, and you hope the staff are trained enough to handle accident victims, right? Sam, do you have any way to do that?
Yeah, I think it's discouraging, but better, much better than it used to be.
Okay.
Unlike Collins, I went to medical school in Ghana. Actually, I was a pioneer at the KNUST School of Medical Sciences, and I know that the things have improved a lot, but it can be still substandard depending on what you're looking at. Collins is an interventional cardiologist, so I mean, I know he has a passion. He's very passionate about what he's saying. I mean, for an accident victim to be carried in a private car is just you just can't imagine it. And you have
Yeah.
just make
yeah,
mention of ambulance. I think people are still not used to emergency services in Ghana. Recently, I think last week, somebody was shot dead at the UST junction. And when I
Yeah.
saw the video, yeah, when I saw the video, I couldn't just believe it. This person is dead. I mean, lying there,
And he was
not
on the
dead,
floor
bleeding
and was bleeding.
on the floor.
Yeah.
And people were just watching. I know he may be a
exactly.
thief, he may be something, but I
No,
mean,
he
if
actually
you,
wasn't. He came from United States, and they said it was he got involved in some kind of accident and he got shot.
yeah, it was just, I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't watch it. But the person, you
Yeah.
see the person, I mean, there was life in him, and he was just there dying. So it's something different. I mean, forget about the stretches,
What can be
forget about
done
the
about it?
turbulence.
Okay, so you guys are very familiar with the healthcare system in the United States. How do we move the dial from where we are to where, at least heading in the direction of where we need to be? How do we begin?
I think it is beginning to happen. We never had emergency physicians in Ghana for a long time. Now, the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons is training emergency physicians. That was the missing link. And so, once we have these people who are able to attend to emergencies, it's going to make a lot of differences. Collins was saying, yeah, we don't have the ambulances are just beginning to come in, but even if the person was carried to the hospital without any emergency physicians, it was going to be tough. But luckily now we have this specialty of emergency physicians, and I believe things are going to change, especially when they're able to triage patients to the right places and get the. I mean, hopefully Collins will be there with his interventional cardiology to intervene when it's to do
Okay.
with
Well,
the
now,
cardiovascular.
Jermaine, I mean, yeah, let me clarify the point. Okay.
Hmm.
Here, the emergency medicine in the United States is completely different from what we have in Ghana. What we literally have in Ghana are a bunch of drivers driving a souped up vehicle called an ambulance. Okay, if you call an ambulance to an ambulance scene, I'll bet you all of the money in my wallet that the person managing the ambulance might not have the medical know-how to be able to triage. So suppose you start having chest pain in the middle of the night and you call for an ambulance. Will that person driving that ambulance be able to triage you and decide whether you are having an acute heart attack or maybe an acute
Yes.
pulmonary embolism. Okay, it is just non-existent. Okay, so to answer the question as to how do we move from that? Okay, now recently, and I don't want to make this political, this is not political in any sense of the word, but we have to be very, very realistic. If you go to the Ghana Health Services website and you look at the population and you look at the amount of physicians or the number of physicians available, and you look at the population physician ratio, it is critical. This is just even general physicians. So when you look at specialty medicine, it is even more critical. We have to build capacity, Jermaine. It
Okay.
takes 15 years.
So let me come in here. Building capacity, but there are 5,000 of you in the United States. I know your organization, Ghanaian Physicians and Surgeons Association, however you call it. The population is about 5,000. If half of you come home, I think that will eat into the numbers quite a bit. What would it take for us to get you guys to come back?
Well, you can ask Dr. Fojo how difficult it has been for the organization. For the organization block to try and do something. Getting medical licenses. Now, some of the members trained in Ghana and then came here and did their residencies. Them, good. I did all of my medical training here. I went and purchased 45 acres of land in 2003 before I even started medical school, because I had a vision of building a state-of-the-art cardiovascular center, and I've protected that land with everything I've got. Over this time, I have tried to go back to start projects. When I was in fellowship, I went back to the National Cardiothoracic Center. I wanted to do research to find out how many, and that was when Shelley Aite was the Minister of Health. I went to the Ministry of Health. I requested to get data on the number of cardiovascular diseases. The statistician didn't have it. I was told to go to a place which I believe stood for Center for Health Information Management, a little office on the Kolebu campus. I spent my whole entire research. Went over there. The gentleman who was responsible for CHIM was not available. His understudy was there. He called him over the phone. I was told to come back. For 2 weeks after that encounter, that man was never in the office. And then finally, they told me to go to the NTC, National Cardiothoracic Center. When I went there, the person in charge told me, quote, "We have done the work. Why should we give you the data for you to go and publish and get the recognition, period," end quote.
Look at that. Wow.
So when you talk, and so I have always felt like me coming home is a threat to somebody's livelihood, sort of. Now we got 30 million people back in the motherland.
Okay, so your story is similar to a lot of us diasporans who have come in. But, we come in here and we face quite a lot of pushback. But you know what? We all have the scars to prove it. Sam, what are your scars? You came in and you built it. What did it take for you to go through from the beginning to getting your structures up?
No, Collins has a point, but I guess it's tough to compare Ghana and the United States. There are two different environments. It's difficult to reintegrate into Ghana. But once you are determined, like I am, you just, have to do what you have to do. There are still struggles for me. My hospital is going through a lot of struggles with HIFRA and certification and all that. But it's not easy. Integrating back into Ghana is not easy.
We wake up every morning to different stories from politics, business, sports, and entertainment. These stories, one way or the other, affect our lifestyle and dealings with family, friends, and business associates. Your take on Diaspora Network Television gives you an opportunity to have your take on these pertinent issues via phone in and messages to our social media platforms, DNT Ghana on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If it's an important trending story, we will definitely talk about it. Your take with me, Yalsichi, on DNT.
What's cool, fresh and trendy with a new look? Makes you feel real good, that refreshing vibe. Satisfies you right just the way you like. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Ain't gotta do it alone. Specialized makes you glow. Anytime, anywhere. Specialized feel different. Always think specialized. Special Ice Natural Mineral Water. Feel different. Think special. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hefra is giving you a hard time certifying you, and I know I've been to your facility. I think being from the United States, I can see a lot of the standards in there. But if they can't approve you, then I can imagine there are a lot of facilities that would not be approved. Do you think it has something to do with what Collins was talking about?
Yeah, it's a mix of things. The issue is this is a hospital in a fairly rural area, and they are requesting me to have 3 doctors when we are seeing about 20 patients a day, 30 patients a day. They are requesting for 8 nurses when you don't need them. They are requesting for a full-time pharmacist when you have a pharmacy assistant who can do the work. They are requesting for laboratory technologist.
Do they have your patient count? Wait. Okay, Sam. Do they have your patient count? Because if that is the standard, but your patient count is not up to that level, can't they make amendments to the requirement?
I mean, you literally have to tell them, hey, I don't see that many patients, and it's okay. That's okay. So I think the bureaucracy is what is killing us, because they come with a template, and oftentimes the people who make these regulations are not in practice, so they don't know what is going out there. That's my view. That's my view. So they make all these recommendations.
And some of these
and don't know
laws,
what is going on.
now, Jermaine, some of these laws, for example, are so archaic. Now, if you were a physician in Ghana, which I think Dr. Fojo will probably bear me out, you cannot advertise your services.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole new thing.
Now listen. I'm listening for a second. If you want the best mechanic, you want the best advertised mechanic. If you want to eat the best wache in Accra, you want the best advertised wache. But for some reason, if you are looking for the best physician,
or lawyer,
they cannot advertise themselves and make themselves available so that people can easily see who is available that I can go see for help. Okay, when you get on an airplane,
Collins, let me make it even easy for you. When you put your name there, is Dr. Collins Quatin, right? And he's Doctor.
Correct.
If you choose to call Professor Dr. Samuel Fojo. So to the man on the street, both of you are doctors. Whether you're internal medicinist, whether you're a physical therapy, you have a doctor in your name. So when I'm sick, I'm coming to you. I have to come all the way to your place before I find out that, wait, you're not the type of doctor that I need. Whereas if we were allowed to advertise, you would be able to see that, oh, this is an internal medicine. This is, you see where I'm coming from?
I don't know where that law comes from. Yeah, but you can have me on record as saying that it is the dumbest law that I've ever heard of. I mean, when you sit on an airplane to fly from Kotoka to Heathrow, you don't want to see a Kokompe taxi driver walking into the cockpit to fly that airplane. You want the best. Why is it that we undersell ourselves?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I wanted to pick on something.
I think it's a colonial law, because I think that medical practitioners and legal practitioners are not allowed to advertise in Ghana, just as in the UK.
That's the law. That's the law.
But
I want to
my
pick on.
wife is a nurse.
And how many years have we been? How many years have we had independence? So we are still thinking. We still have that colonial mentality.
Yeah, you are right. We haven't advocated for a revisit of that law, and that is what is happening.
Okay. Now,
Look at the
I spoke to a lawyer about it, and he was just as upset. But I want to touch on something that Collins, you mentioned. You said when you did the research, you saw that the physician to patient ratio, physician to citizen ratio was critical. That's how you termed it.
Yes.
Do you remember what those numbers are?
Oh, one physician, and it's geographically based. There are more physicians on the southern part of the country than they are in the north. I think there is one physician for about 19,000 people, if not more.
Okay.
And so
and then
they
nurses,
keep updating that.
Nurses, did you see one for nurses?
Yes. Yes, I don't know the figures right on top of my head. That is very readily available on the Ghana Health Services website.
Good. What I'm trying to do here is this. One physician to 19,000. That's for the whole country. But Dr. Sam, you've put a medical facility in a rural area where you're lucky to see 20 patients a day. But they want you to have how many doctors on staff?
Three doctors. Three doctors.
Exactly.
You see where the disconnect is?
See, exactly.
You want 3 doctors for
it makes no sense at all.
Patients, but the whole country is 1 doctor for 19 physicians, 19,000. Okay, so why can't someone sit down and figure out that, wait a minute, if these are the true numbers, then maybe we need to adjust, the HEFRA needs to adjust the numbers, their requirements. Maybe you guys should push that to the regulatory authorities. Is that something in the pipeline?
I think beginning from next year, I'll be full-time in Ghana, and I am hoping I'll do this in concert with other private practitioners, at least for the advertisement and the readjustment of some of these regulations and laws that have been in place, which may seem very unrealistic or unreasonable. So that's one of the goals
Sam,
for next year.
You are I guess, the older medical practitioner. You have a younger brother here. You've done it. He is looking to do it. What advice would you give him to make his journey a little easier? The journey back home.
I would tell you, you know that I can't quote the Bible, but we want to heal people. And if you want to depend on frustrations and bureaucratic bottlenecks, you can achieve that. So no matter what, just do it. Just do it. Yeah, it's very frustrating, but once you push it, you may be very successful, and that's all I can say. It's not easy. I've had to fight here and I'm just pushing.
So Sam, I hope you're not wearing a Nike shoe, because it seemed like just do it. You just took it right off the Nike website.
I'm a tennis player. I just bought a Nike shoe yesterday. And like I told you, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book which is coming out in a month, and the title is "Anyone Can, You Can Do It." It's very frustrating. If you see somebody like me and Collins, how we've been able to, make it. Anybody can make it. It's always difficult, especially in Ghana.
Did you have to temper your expectation a little bit before you
Oh, you have to
you
do
were
it
able
all the
to?
time. You have to, you have to do it all the time. Because I mean,
Okay,
your family will frustrate you. Your relatives. I mean, everybody will frustrate you, especially when you're trying to put up a building. It's not easy, but
okay.
you just push it and be patient,
But
and you
But
overcome.
Collins, there are those who will say that no, the standard is how I'm going to do it. Do you see that you be the standard with which you're coming, the expectation and the level of uh, how you want to do things? Do you see that you have the ability to temper them down if you need to?
I mean, I don't think, heart attack is the same in Ghana as it is in the United States, right? There is not a
Okay.
Ghana heart attack and a US heart attack. Okay, it's plaque
Mhm.
rupture, thrombus formation, artery occlusion. You need to open that
Mhm.
artery, and there are specific ways to open it, and it does not differ by way of geographical location.
Okay.
Okay, now the resources may not be available, so you have to be creative.
Okay.
However, you can't go open somebody's arteries, put a stent in, and not give them an antiplatelet medication to prevent that stent from closing up. And so, from that standpoint, how to treat the patients, you just can't do it any other way. Now, you
Yeah.
can do it mechanical way or pharmacologic way by using medications, clot busting medications. So in the absence of stents, for example, you may want to give an IV medication, a clot busting medication, but there is evidence that clot busting medications given to open arteries are only about 50 to 60% effective. That artery
Okay.
still needs to be open. Okay. So for me, and it's probably because of what I do. Okay. I don't think I can do it any other way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I can't take a shortcut to opening somebody's leg. I can take a
Okay.
shortcut to opening somebody's heart because the
Okay.
harm may even be more.
So let's talk.
Serious.
Let me specifically, Collins. I want to you to touch on this. In Ghana, many times you hear, "Oh, yesterday we were here. Well, I spoke to him, and today he's dead," and that suggests. I'm sure you're familiar with most of the time what happens to cause that.
Yes.
What do you see that we're doing as a nation in the preventive area? Because it seems like if you live right, if you do the right things, you can avoid a heart attack or these kinds of things. What do you have to say about that in the preventive area?
Yeah. Look, I have a lot of respect for my colleagues who are practicing in Ghana. I have a ton of respect. Sometimes I sit back at conferences after you speak, with physicians who trained in Ghana, and you're like,
Mhm.
wow, could I even survive in that environment? Yeah, they do survive. They work, they do a lot with much, much less. Now, to answer that question, prevention is almost non existent, and I think it's part of our attitudes and culture. And let me just say, religion has also played a part in really messing up the minds of the average Ghanaian and frankly the average African. Tell you a story. Part of when I went on fellowship I went to a place called Lister. It was a hospital which had just opened, I think the East Legon area. Okay, and I can't even recall the gentleman's name, but he was the medical director of the hospital. His wife had just had a stroke,
Do you
massive
hear Jay?
stroke. She could. I don't remember. I think he was away, and his
Doctor
wife had just had a stroke.
Doctor Hiaji is Doctor Hiaji.
Okay, probably. And you're telling me that instead of taking the recommendation of the physician husband to control the blood pressure and stuff, she wanted to go to a prayer camp.
Whoa!
Yes, she wanted to go to a prayer camp after suffering a massive stroke. Okay, when you have high blood pressure, you don't have any symptoms. When you tell a patient they have high blood pressure and you want to treat it, they look at you like you have 10 heads. I don't feel anything. Why do you want me to
Yeah.
pay you to take
Yeah.
care of a disease that doesn't give me any symptoms?
Yeah.
And the disconnect is so glaringly just out of this world.
Yeah.
And so the
Okay.
prevention part, we
Mhm.
really need to work on that. And it's a cultural adjustment that we need to make. Because until we
Okay.
change our mindset, we're going to continue to have these problems. And I think it starts from sort of the ground level, from the primary care physician. And I think overall, a comprehensive community education,
Okay.
because
All right.
your eyes cannot
So,
see what your mind is
mhm.
not thinking about. So if you don't think that there is something wrong, then you have no motivation to want to seek help.
Very good. Very good. Well, we've already exhausted an hour, so we're going to try to close up. But let me first ask you, Sam. You said next year you're probably going to be full time here and do this. If you had the ears of the Minister of Health, what are your biggest concerns? What would you tell them?
I think as a public health physician, and just to echo what Collins said, prevention, prevention, health education, that is what is going to help us. Like if somebody has a stroke and they want to go to the prayer camp, you can't blame them because the person hasn't been educated about his or her health. So prevention, health education
Health
is going to,
education.
yeah.
And I think that's really in order because when the disease gets here, we don't have the resources to treat it and getting here in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let
Yeah.
me turn to you in closing also. Collins, if you had the ear of the minister, what would be your priority area that you want him to focus on?
Well, there is a saying that if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail to you. All right.
Mhm.
I live and breathe cardiovascular disease. I live and breathe cardiovascular disease. Like I said, you know, in the next 20 years, by 2030, actually, by 2050, which is in the next 30 years, the population of Ghana is expected to hit about 50 million.
Mhm.
Life expectancy is also going to shoot up. That also means that the incidence of cardiovascular disease is going to shoot up. As I alluded to before, it takes 14, 15 years to train a fully fledged cardiac practitioner, a general cardiologist or an
Is that
interventional
from is
cardiologist.
that from is that from after bachelor's or
Yeah, from
before
college.
bachelor's?
Yeah, from college residency fellowship, interventional fellowship. It takes that long to
Okay.
train a physician. As we are
Okay.
talking right now, I may be off by a few, but I don't think we have more than 10 interventional cardiologists in the whole country of
You're
Ghana.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's the
Okay,
number.
and all right, and there are 30 million of us. If
Hmm.
it takes 14 to 15 years to train a fully fledged cardiologist, that means that we have about 2 cycles. Even if we started today, we have about 2 full cycles to increase that capacity in the next 30 years. That is when the population is expected to hit about 50 million. Life expectancy
So
will
we need
also
to
go up.
start like
So
yesterday.
like a decade ago. And so because post independence, the thought was that Africans are going to die of dysentery and cholera, so we just need to do just general medicine and just give them some antibiotics and they'll be fine. No, people are living longer. Okay, people are living longer. That means the chronic diseases are now manifesting because if you are dying at the age of 30, you're not going to live long enough to manifest the cardiovascular disease. But if you live into your 50s and your 60s, that is when the chronic disease is going to get you. And I think the epidemiologists will sort of attest to that. Okay, so, it used to be that antibiotics was the only thing we needed. No, now we don't need that. Okay, and Ghana has positioned itself, okay, to be a center for the West African region. And so if the minister is listening to me, I will say that as much as general medicine is vital and we need that, but we cannot and must not disregard specialty medicine and that capacity building. Now, they thought, or there was a talk about building 88 hospitals. We are struggling to manage the ones we have. You go to any emergency room in Ghana and you'll be hard pressed to find a physician on duty. How are you going to put up another 88 hospitals when you can hardly manage the ones you have? You can buy 300 ambulances, but if they are only drivers driving an ambulance, you have not made a dent. Yes, you can carry a patient from point A to point B, but you need to sustain that patient before you can transfer them from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to think. We got to challenge.
Do we even have a record of patients who might have died along the way in the current ambulances? That's something that we may want to do. But gentlemen, I really, really appreciate you guys for making time for us. Dr. or shall I say Professor Samuel Forjo from Houston, Texas, and Dr. Collins Quartin. I don't even know the town you live in. What in Georgia?
Oh, me? No, I mean, I'm currently in Atlanta. So my family, my wife and kids are in Atlanta, and I have my practice in Dublin, Georgia.
Dublin, Georgia.
And so yeah, and so
right.
I practice and I come home on the weekends.
So I want to really thank you guys for joining us on Diaspora Network Television. The last thing that I want in 30 seconds, each of you. Diaspora Network Television was created just for this purpose. Those who are looking to come home. We want to bridge the gap between the diaspora and here. So in considering the things that we've talked about, how can DNT be of help to improve the health situation from your perspective? Let me start with you, Collins, briefly.
I think it's education.
Okay. All right,
education, you know, even the Bible says that for lack of knowledge, my people perish, right?
Okay.
And so we've got to know about where the resources are, and we just got to work at it. For me, failing is not an option. I've been doing this for 10 years plus. I'm not giving up, and if it kills me, I'll die trying. That is about the best that I can put it.
That sound like 50 Cent. I'll do it or I'll die trying. 50 Cent. All right, you get the last word, Sam. In what way can DNT help?
Well, I'll echo what Collins just said. Education. Before I came on, I was telling a few friends that I'm going to be on DNT. They said, what? What is it? I don't know how many months or weeks you've been in operation, but people don't know about you. And so if you are trying to bridge diasporans to Ghana and people don't even know about this, that's a problem. So we need to expand our education, not just for health, but for information and other things. I'm sure people who have been listening to this may even call you, say, can I get Collins' number to ask him or mine? And so education. That is what is going to help us. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and Jermaine, just before you go, that is something that I'll be happy to help you. And I think there are a lot of people who will be happy to help you sort of spread the word with respect to sort of preventive medicine in all aspects of healthcare. So I'm very open. My doors are always open to you if you ever need my help to help make that happen.
We're going to work together to make it happen. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on Diaspora Weekly. This has been another episode of Diaspora Weekly on Diaspora Network Television. My guest has been Dr. Collins Quartin from Dublin, Georgia in the United States, and Professor Samuel Forjo from Houston, Texas, also in the United States. And to you, the viewer, thank you for watching.